Beautiful music. Friends. Beautiful music. Friends. Beautiful music. Friends. Beautiful music.
This is Digital Music Trends, episode 110, recorded on the 21st of November 2012. So, hello everyone, and welcome to Digital Music Trends. So this week on the show, we're going to talk mostly about hacks, given that last weekend it was Musichackday London 2012. And so, to talk about that and about the Musichackday project at large, we have Martin Davies, who is evangelist at SendGrid and Musichackday coordinator. So, hi Martin, and thanks for joining us. How's it going?
Yeah, good man. How you doing?
Great, thanks. And then we have Sid Lawrence, who is a developer evangelist at Twilio and co-founder of We Make Awesome Shit, I'm not sure. How's it going?
Yeah, good, thank you. You well?
Cool, yeah, all good. Well, thanks for coming on the show. It's actually a slow news week, so it's perfect because we can just spend our time talking about the Hack Day, which is great.
That's the big news. What do you mean slow news week?
Well, no, I know that's the news of the week. No, sorry, that's the context I was.
Oh man, I feel like the only reason we're even on is because there's nothing else to
talk
about.
Oh no, it's not true. No, it's not true.
That's what me and Sid are going to get used for from now on. BBC News, all of this is like, yeah, nothing's happening. Let's come on and Sid on.
No, you're just putting words in my mouth now. You're just putting words in my mouth. I wanted to start by talking about sort of 2012 as a big year for the Hack Day project. And you know, the Music Hack Day has grown a lot since 2009 when the first one in London happened. So there were 4 in 2009, 6 in 2010, 8 in 2011, and 9 in 2012. So Martin, you were one of the people that started this event. Were you surprised by the way it spread in the last 4 years?
I guess so. I think it's taken off at a rate that I probably never would have expected, and certainly Dave and James, who came up with the first edition, would have definitely not thought that it was going to kick off as much as it has done now. Certainly wouldn't have spread as wide, but I guess I'm really pleased that after this amount of time, you know, and given that there hasn't been a sort of gigantic shift in the format, that they're still as popular as they are, and that there's still such an overwhelming demand for them to happen, not just in the cities that they've been to before, but in, you know, a ton of other cities that come up every year.
Yeah,
I mean,
of course.
I already know where our 30th event is going to be.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say, but I know where it's going to be, and
Nice.
and by that point, there's going to be there will have been over 3,500 attendees at Musichackdays.
Wow. That's amazing. And Sid, coming from a developer that sort of joined in, not as part of the sort of organizing team to begin with. So, what is your perception of the Hack Days? How have they evolved in the last few times you've been there?
I've been to quite a few Hack Days recently.
Yeah.
As in, like, at least 5 in the last 2 months.
Yeah.
And the Music Hack Days are always the best Hack Days, from a point of like. I've been to Music Hack Days again all around the world.
Yeah.
So and like they are always the best ones. I don't know whether it's because of the content. I don't know whether it's because of the just because of the people who organise it. I mean, Martin obviously does do a very good job. Is it just down to that? Is it just down to the way they're put up, the way they're set up, or the people who come to them, or the hacks that get made? I mean, like every part of it from a hacker, they're always the best. Like. They always get the best hacks that come out of it. You always get the best developers going along to them. I mean, I don't know why that is.
Yeah.
It's definitely the way it is.
Yeah, and in terms of data sets, you know, you're just talking comparisons at large with other Hack Days. Do you think that the data sets provided by some of the companies that work within the music space as APIs are maybe better and certainly more fun to work with than other data sets?
But they've just got content. Like, they've just got content. So, I mean, I was at a TV Hack Day conference, a TV Hack Day the other day, and I mean, the content, they've got data, so they've got like what shows are on, they've got, like, but what they don't have is the physical content to play with. And with the music stuff, now we've got things like Spotify with an API, Deezer, audio. Hell, the big news for me at the weekend was that I launched the Tomodor HK API.
Yeah.
So for Tomahawk, like any developer can now implement Tomahawk.hk into their apps. Now Tomahawk.hk, for a bit of a self-trumpet point of view, is a service that allows people to listen to music wherever they want to listen to music. So it brings in music from SoundCloud, from Spotify, from YouTube, from Deezer, from Rdio, from like Official FM, Last FM, basically anywhere where I can grab music from, I add it in.
Yeah.
And so it's all about playing music. Now, they're all legitimate services that we're playing music from. So it's if a user has paid for music somehow at one point, they shouldn't have to pay for it again. It's kind of the Tomahawk.hk point of view. There's no point showing everyone a Spotify playlist if the person uses Rdio. So there's just that content there.
Yeah,
I mean, that's the main thing. Like, you've got songs you can play with. You don't really have that at, like, any other hack days, or depending on, no matter what it is, like, the content is there.
Yeah, and Martin, the same question for you, I guess, because you also sort of work for SoundGrid now as an evangelist and end up at a lot of hack days that are not music related. So is that the differentiator mainly, the music, or is also that, like, is it the music, the content, and also the community, or is the mindset of the hackers that are there pretty much the same or across the board?
I mean, I think, there's a massive benefit in something like Musichackday having been around as long as it has been, in that there's a great reputation there, so people are attracted to it just because of that.
Yeah.
So obviously that does mean that, a lot of people show up, but at the same time, I agree with Sid that, the music industry have had a little bit longer with this sort of focus on them, and certainly from the developer point of view and engaging with developer communities, they've had 4 years to basically get themselves up to scratch, and they are working harder and more closely with developers like Sid to actually achieve things, and that does mean that they're exposing more stuff that makes their technology more enjoyable to hack on than other industries. I mean, I work a lot with other companies who are in different sectors that are maybe 2-3 years behind. They'll get there, but it is that thing, is that without content, it's just tying a bunch of technology together, and that, although it can be very awesome, doesn't necessarily make for the most engaging end user experience, which is why I think what comes out of Musichackday ends up becoming quite so viral and quite so shared around the web when the events are done, is because people actually can get behind it and understand what it is that's actually happening on their screen. Whether they get how the technology fits together or not, they can just enjoy it and interact with it, which isn't something that you get with sort of pure technology hack days, I think.
Yeah, sure.
And I think a great way to, just to expand on what you said, I mean, so I'm relatively new to the music world. Yeah, like, before January, I knew no one in the music industry. And most of our, we make awesome shit. Most of our projects are music-based nowadays. And what all of the four of us really enjoy is the fact that we're making stuff that ultimately our friends are actually going to play.
Yeah.
Or like for example, we did the 18 months Calvin Harris app the other week. And we were getting messages from people who we didn't personally tell, hey, check this out. We just put it on our Facebook, and then we'd get a message from someone who, Paul had a message from his wife's sister's husband to say, hey, I love the app. Now, they're not geeky. Like, most of the stuff that developers end up making on a day-to-day basis is stuff that you might think is technically quite cool, but the real world, they can care less.
Yeah.
And now I mean the real world as in literally someone random. We're seeing a tweet about something in Japan, in Japanese, about something that you've made that you've got no idea what that means, but there's someone out there in another totally different country who likes what it is you've done.
Yeah.
And there's definitely, that happens a lot with music. I mean, everyone loves music.
Of course.
And we like making stuff.
Makes
so
sense.
It's managing to combine the two really well. And I think that's what developers love.
Yeah, and I just wanted to talk quickly about sponsors as well, because that's an important part of the hack day and making it happen. So how important is to get somebody, for example, this year in London, Facebook was a big sponsor of the event. Of course, they hosted it in their offices, so that's quite a big commitment for a company of that size. So, does that signify sort of the evolution of the relationship between independent developers and a big company like that, in the way that they need developers to create stuff on the platform, and so they encourage this kind of things to happen within their their territory? Or how is that relationship evolved over the years? Because the Open Graph is relatively new, so all that kind of stuff they're trying to get under their umbrella is interesting.
Well, for Facebook, there was a very specific reason, and that was because they'd recently put out new endpoints in their API that allow people to search the musical graph of themselves and all of their friends, which is tremendously powerful information. And that's from all of the services that have ever pushed a listen or a track that someone has liked through the Facebook platform. So that's Deezer, that is Spotify, SoundCloud, all of that stuff. And if you want to basically get a really good picture now of what it is that people are listening to and what people within a particular social group actually like, then you can do it. So that was definitely the reason why Facebook got involved and came to me and said that they wanted to host the event. What surprised me, and I guess maybe I shouldn't have been surprised, but maybe my expectations were a little different, was that they didn't want to claim any kind of ownership of any part of the event. They wanted to give us the space, and they supported us amazingly well through the production process of this particular hack day. But then all they wanted was just to be treated exactly the same as any of the other people supporting the event. So just get up, do their presentation, show people what could be made, and be there across the weekend to support the developers if they wanted to work on that, which is exactly what they did.
Great, awesome. And Sid, what's your perspective on sort of the Facebook Open Graph and the new music stuff they've pushed out?
I mean, sure, there's it's what Last FM has been.
Yeah.
And it's really interesting because so many hacks have involved Last FM.
Yeah.
Like loads. I mean, like if you ever want to find out what music someone's listened to, you go to Last FM. Thanks to the 10-year anniversary of the Scrobbling.
Yeah.
Which obviously that's not slow news. Yeah, hell, I mean, look at that. That should be something discussing.
We should talk about that. We should fit it in at the end.
And that's kind of what Facebook has recreated. And whether or not it will take off in the same way that Last FM and the Scrobbling did. I mean, I personally don't have any of my music listens going to Facebook.
Yeah, me neither.
Any of them. I have my music listens going to Last FM. All of them.
Yeah.
Now,
it's kind of
that's a bit of an odd decision to make.
Yeah, it's a debate between like mainstream and sort of us, which are not in the mainstream sort of.
Yeah.
Like whether it will just work by inertia.
Yeah.
Even if it's not as good a service, perhaps.
I mean, there's loads of people who use them. I mean, there was a stupid stat. I don't know the exact figure, but first of all, it struck me as a lot. Simon has uploaded his slides from Saturday. I can't remember the exact stat, but then when yesterday and there was the whole Scrobbling going around, and someone Last FM tweeted a stat about how many Scrobbles they'd had, and I looked at it, and just from the top of my head, because I don't know the original stat, it looked very similar.
Yeah.
So, like, Facebook has got all of these Scrobbles that Last FM has managed to gain over 10 years within the space of a couple of months. Well, like, how long has it been around? Maybe a year?
Mm.
I mean, it's incredible how much data is there, for sure. And so I can definitely see people using it. I've used it in a couple of hacks previously. I did the FB Hipster, which just went through all of your Scrobbles on Facebook and told you how much of a hipster you were. But that's the only time I've used the Facebook Music Listens API. I've tried to, with Toma.hk, we have tried to do it so that when you listen to it on there, it gets posted. But just like actually on SoundCloud, they don't have their listens in the main music graph stuff
Yeah.
for internal political reasons, I believe. And so we can't publish them on Toma.hk.
Yeah.
So we actually publish a played rather than listens to get around that.
Yeah. Sure.
Which does mean that it doesn't appear in the music listens list.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I mean, it's definitely interesting.
Cool. Martin, going from the sponsors to the attendees, how is the proportion of individual developers that attend the Hack Day, Music Hack Day, as opposed to developers that come in while working for a company like Last.fm or SoundCloud or something like that? I mean, I don't want numbers, just roughly, like how is it now, and how has it evolved over the last couple of years?
I think initially it started out being just people who were really working for those companies, because a lot of them formed because it was just developers who were interested in music, kind of building up the sites and services, and obviously they wanted to work in the music space, otherwise they would have been working for a very different kind of startup.
Yeah.
But over the years, of course, people love music and they love technology, and combining the two and getting the opportunity to do so at an event has become more and more and more. And, so it's a huge proportion of individual developers. They're working for agencies, they're working for banks, they're working for all different kinds of companies. Hacking on music is not necessarily their day job.
Of course.
And obviously, because the people that come from the sort of sponsor companies don't count towards the overall, it is 100% of ticket holders are coming from wherever. Now they may work for music stars, but they've got those tickets on their own.
Yeah.
So it's lots and lots of indie developers,
cool.
little small teams, little small development shops like We Make Awesome Shit or Reactify Music. Just coming in, and that may be their bread and butter, but it's a great opportunity to do some quick 24-hour thought out rapid prototyping, throw some stuff at the wall and see what sticks.
Yeah.
And I think whether people use it for that or not, it's very much on their own back.
Yeah, sure. And Sid, how did you find, you said you didn't know anybody in the space up until the end of last year, beginning of this year. How did you find entering in the space as a individual shop without affiliation with any of the main companies that are working there?
Well, I mean, so my first Music Hack Day was last year.
Yeah.
And let's go with what my experience was then. And my experience then was, actually, it was a case of, you go to a lot of hack days. There are a few other ones where you get maybe they're all quite small companies. I mean, still decent sized companies, but not really interesting companies, maybe is the right way to put it. And the fact that you get to meet people from Spotify, meet people from SoundCloud, from Songkick, which these services that you already use and you would love to play around with more, and then they're on hand. If you have never used their API before and you don't know how it works, someone's there to help you.
Yeah.
I mean, I was fixing some stuff with the Toma.hk API while people were there asking me questions. So you get that. It works both ways. As a developer, you always feel a much stronger connection with a company once you've met them in real life.
Yeah.
And the fact that you can see who these people are working on that platform you're trying to use, yeah, I mean, it's always ace.
It's always handy, absolutely. Okay, well, I think we can move on to talking about the individual project that were done at this Hack Day. So it was Saturday and Sunday. Unfortunately, I couldn't be there. So I'm going to rely on you guys to tell me all about how things came about and how the project evolved. I'm not sure where we should start from. Perhaps we could start with a couple of the apps that won, I guess, some of the categories that were in as prizes. And one of the funniest ones that I saw that was pretty popular, I think, at the Hack Day was Screecha, which was a sort of a toy puppet app music mashup.
It was a first, wasn't it? I mean, it was we'd never had. Well, you tweeted it perfectly on the Saturday, I think, Martin.
What was it? The first time that we'd ever had a sewing machine at Musichackday?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
That's awesome. They actually made the puppet as well. It wasn't just... Oh, cool.
Yeah, the puppet was made from scratch. I mean, the concept behind Screecha is that it's an application for children that runs on an iPhone. But in order to get the children to engage with it, even though kids do engage with touchscreen devices pretty well from my experience, like all my friends' kids are just crazy for it. Like everybody always loses an iPad or an iPhone to one of their friends' kids at some point. But they basically created a bird puppet that could listen to, well, you could put your hand up the puppet and it could sing along to tunes that were played off the application, and the child could engage with it. I mean, it was entirely like music based, but the different way of thinking, first of all, like targeting something at children, I think that was probably a first as well. But just making the actual puppet from scratch during the hack day with a sewing machine, never seen it before at Hack Day. Maybe we will never see it again. I'd actually like it to be just like the one and only time that it happens, because it was so awesome. Yeah. And the puppet's really good. It looks amazing. It came to the pub afterwards as well.
Yeah. You can see like, what's that company that makes teddy bears, stuffed teddy bears? Just nicking that idea and going with it.
Yeah, I mean, that kind of idea has sort of floated around, for a while, but, they usually go through quite a lot of product development before they get this kind of stuff out on the shelves. But this was built over a 24-hour period, so I mean, that's awesome. One of the nice things about Musichackday is that oftentimes it can prove just how quickly you can go from concept to completion of something, or certainly idea to a proof of concept in just a short space of time, which I think is one of the things that makes the event so attractive to not only the people that go, but also to the people that pick up the ideas and speak to the developers afterwards as well.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's not even from a concept, right? I mean, sometimes you turn up and you've got no idea what it is you're going to make.
Yeah, it's the happy accidents that happen as well.
Yeah, that's cool. And the projects at Hack Days are getting, some of them are, one-man teams, but there's also quite a few more complex projects that are going on. So they require front ends, back ends, and designers. And so at least there's a community there that even if you don't have a designer on the team, maybe you can borrow somebody from elsewhere to help you out with the interface of the hack, right?
Design's always the issue at Hack Days.
Yeah.
Always the issue. There were just it's the same with any kind of. I mean, look at Tomahawk. Like, it's the same for any kind of fun, free project that you're not making any money out of. That's a hobby.
Yeah.
It seems that, and designers, their hobby is to design. Most of them, their hobby is art.
Yeah. Like,
they like to make pretty things, but they're not necessarily that. I don't know. I've always been trying to work out why there aren't more designers.
Yeah.
A, they're a Hack Day, or B, just open source.
Yeah.
There's just not enough designers.
Yeah.
I mean, we did one project that we would have loved a decent design for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a tough area to get people involved if it's a freebie, of course. And I was just talking earlier about another. I mean, I'm just running through a few of the hacks just because it's hard to give a real structure or order to how we go about doing this. But talking about the iPhone, you were talking about it earlier, Sid. And so can you explain what the iPhone was?
Yeah, for sure. So one of the projects we created was a thing called iPhone, EYE phone, because what we had was using a webcam. Everyone in the audience basically put up a phone with a big white screen on.
Yeah.
And then from the front, we just worked out where they were all positioned and then created a sequencer based off where they were all positioned, playing various different samples. That was mainly pulled from We Make Awesome. We were amazed that it worked, to be honest. Because it wasn't our main project. Like, we did another project as well, which I'll go through in a bit. But it was just to see if it would. And the fact that our only test was a photo that we took on the first day.
Yeah.
Was the only test we were doing until it came down to the presentation.
Yeah.
And then we got out our laptop and used the webcam and scanned everyone.
Awesome.
And yeah, I thought that was ace, because we were creating basically a song based off where people were sat. With their phones.
That's cool.
Hopefully the video will look good We'll
Yeah.
see. We
Yeah.
might have to create it one day and get it so that people actually position to create an actual song, which I think we might do. I'm going to try, and one of the things I want to start doing, we all want to start doing at We Make Awesome, is sort out the after videos so that we get a little bit of a polished video.
Yeah.
Because there's loads of projects that we make that could do with a decent video.
Yeah, of course. All right. Another app that was pretty cool. I mean, there were a few apps actually that were camera based. So that's an interesting thing.
Yeah,
because,
yeah.
We hadn't really seen that much of that beforehand. Maybe it's also the fact that there were quite a few of the WebDog guys involved, and they are quite keen on developing apps that incorporate facial features or capture of something from a webcam. But there was a lot of stuff that happened along those lines, and there was a dance hack. What was the name of that? Just trying to find the name. Move It, is that right?
Yeah, Move It was awesome. That was one of the prize winners as well. It was Dimitri, who works at WebDoc, created that, which used the Music Smash Lyrics API and some snazzy HTML5 options to manipulate people so that they went around the entire weekend taking photographs of people going like this. And no one really had any idea why. And when I asked him, he wouldn't tell me. And I'm really glad he didn't, because when he actually demoed it, it was he'd taken Move It by reel to reel and layered the photographs on top so that they went through in a sort of slideshow of Musichackday participants, and it was their mouth and eyes kind of bumping and going like this, singing along to the track. It was really quite strange, but given no one had any idea and he'd taken a photograph of pretty much everybody, it was quite nice to see it go through and see exactly what it was that it has become. That's definitely one to check out, because it's just hilarious. And I think that's one of the things as well, is there was a lot of humour in the hacks this year, and that's always been something that's been a theme that has gone through quite a lot of the events we've had. But I think this year there was definitely a focus on how am I going to do this demo so that it's as hilarious as it can possibly be. And I love that, because it's not so serious, and it shouldn't be that serious. You should go to these events to have fun, and if that comes across in what it is that you're doing, then it's going to be all the better, not just for the people who are there to watch the demos, but when those things actually end up on the internet afterwards, people start to pass them around, the funnier they are, the more people are going to share them. And that's been very true of, I think there's the other one that's happened a lot with, I'd say probably the one that's, I think, been maybe the most popular since the weekend is the one that is called Johnny Cash Has Been Everywhere Man, which is simplistic but hilarious. And essentially just takes I've Been Everywhere by Johnny Cash, reads through the lyrics, extracts the places he's been, and then drops a little Johnny Cash head down onto a map, which moves around as he goes along. So you can literally just watch that track get played and watch the map of the States and certain parts of the world fill up with little Johnny Cash heads. Yeah,
that's pretty cool.
But it's hilarious. It went down really well.
I want a version for Route 66. That would also work.
I'd just like to point out that it's using the Tomo.hk API, that one.
Nice.
There you go. Yes, full music streaming provided by Tomo.hk.
Yeah, because on something like that, it's a funny thing to watch, but most people that would watch it and laugh at how it works wouldn't actually understand there's a lot of technology behind it to actually make it work, and there's lyrics recognition, understanding that a certain part of the lyrics is actually placed, and then placing that on the map. And that's all done in real time. It's not, because if you go on it, it looks like a pre-recorded video. But that's not what it is. Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, going back to what Martin said just now, was that so people make the demos entertaining, and that's one of the best things about Musichackday is that they're demos. Like some hack days recently have been started to call them pitches. And then you always get the stupid questions like, how are you going to monetize this? Or like the best, we did one the other day. So TV Hack Day, me, Paul and Adam had mind sensor stuff on, like literally tracking your mind and facial movements. And we had this thing so that you could control the TV from your mind.
Yeah.
We just wanted to see if it could be done. Like if this kit was any good, if it could work. And then we created various other little things. And one of the questions was, Do you still see it working if you've got over 1 million people using it at any given time? And I was sat there going, dude, we've just made this in like 24 hours. If we had 1 million people using it at any given time, then I think we'd probably be quite chuffed. But we haven't really considered that kind of thing. We're not here to try and win any kind of funding. They're the parts that are starting to ruin some hack days.
Yeah.
Not all developers, not all hackers are entrepreneurs, and not all hackers want to make money out of everything they make.
Yeah.
And most of the time they're demos. Like, they're demos, not pitches. They're two very big things. And a lot of people just want to have fun.
And there have been projects throughout the history of the Musichackday that have become products. I mean, but that's a small minority of what comes out, right?
Yeah, totally. I mean, kind of the business model behind We Make Awesome originally was making stuff at hack days and then trying to work out how to make money out of them. And so far that's going quite well.
Yeah.
But it's not most developers go along to do that. And yeah, it's most of the stuff that we've actually made money out of have been the fun stuff anyway.
Yeah, sure. I mean, there's no point trying to make something that just for the objective to make money while you're on a hack day. It's losing the point of the hack day. So Martin, can you think of I'm drawing a blank here. Can you think of any like hacks that have become sort of commercial products in the last couple of years? I'm putting you on the spot here, but.
Now you see, because you use the term commercial products, i.e. they make money or sell something.
Oh, no, okay.
And actually there isn't really, but there are sites and services that have come out of it that still exist and have gone on to be very popular.
Yeah.
That people still use, and ideas that have rolled into services that are out there now. Like This Is My Jam originally.
Yeah, that was something I was thinking of.
Yeah, that, and obviously, our previous work from Mr. Matt Ogle, like Drinkify, came out of Boston last year, and was just a joke hack that was made for made for the fun of it, but ended up being super popular because it was funny and it went really viral afterwards, and lots of people wanted to use it, and lots of people shared stuff off it. So there's loads of things like that, but no one's really come up with anything yet. They've decided to go right the way through and get into the sort of monetization phase, unless you sort of exclude Sid's business model, which is, I'd say, probably the highest grossing of anything that's ever come out of Musichackday.
Not all of them have been Musichackday. I mean, Tomo.hk I did at Musichackday out in Amsterdam.
Yeah.
I mean, that's still going now, and we've now got people using the API, and I mean, that's quite cool.
Yeah.
It's still only a hobby project. Don't make any money from it. I mean, my biggest grossing hack, if you like, was Instacat.
Yeah.
Instacat is Instagram photo feed.
Yeah.
And I made more money from that than I ever imagined. What did you say, Martin?
Instagram photo feed of cats.
Yeah, exactly that.
That works a lot with, basically if you've got an idea and you can throw some cats at it, it's like instant.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, pretty much works.
Yeah, we've done far too many ones involving cats.
Yeah. Well, it works.
I'm allergic to cats.
Okay.
See, that is the strangest part about it, is that you don't even have a cat around you, but yet all your cats are virtual because you're allergic to them.
Yeah, you have a longing to be with cats, but that cannot be fulfilled.
I mean, the best thing about Instacat is that I'm allergic to cats and I don't use Instagram.
Perfect.
Go figure.
There you go. Unleash it up on the world, but you're not going to be subjected to yourself.
I did one just the other night on Monday night, which was this sound phone that basically plays a SoundCloud audio track down the phone using Twilio.
Oh, that's amazing, yeah.
And loads of people used that last night and this morning. It's had about 500 phone calls made on it, which is quite interesting. And I know there's various labels who actually want to start using it for other stuff, which is cool. I've open sourced the code.
That's awesome.
So that's actually not a business proposition.
Sure. And there were a few hacks that were sort of radio based, so that's interesting to me because there was a hack about podcasts called Podiki that was sort of trying to extract both indexing the audio side and also indexing the speech side, which is something that is super interesting for me. It was a hack by Ben Smith. And there was also another hack that was more sort of esoterical in terms of scope, which was haunted radio, which attempted to create a sort of old, not old sounding, but sort of like removed sounding radio station with loads of weird sounds and stuff. To make it was kind of creepy, in a way, like a creepy radio, I guess, project. So the radio side is still pretty important. How do you see that? Like there are a lot of restrictions on radio at the moment, and what you can do and what you can stream. So the hacks can really only be that until somebody decides to take them further. How do you see hacks based on radios like sort of progressing over the next year or so? It's kind of an open-ended question, but it's just interesting because there's a lot less things you can really properly create based around the radio concept than you can around a personalized sort of type of idea.
I think discovery is always going to be the big part, that people can always do something different in and always try new things. I mean, if you think about it, like Podiki, the hack that Ben did, it takes podcasts that are available, but what he really wanted was a way of indexing them so that he could search through them and find like the bits that he needed to remember from stuff, and like actually so he could go back to them in the future and go, oh yeah, okay, so I heard that show the other day and they were talking about this, but I can't remember which one it was. Being able to go back through and do that. So yeah, the discovery, but also like digging back through the archive of like so many different shows that you've got, is a way that I think needs to happen more and doesn't as much at the minute, because the access is there, segmentation elements are there now, particularly with the BBC, and that's great. Being able to click through particular aspects of the show, very soon I'm sure you'll be able to just go, right, I want to listen to that track in that show, go find it. I'm sure it'll be on timer.hk before that, but the discovery part of it is always going to be something that, as trends change, as the way that people access any connected device change, then there'll be different ways of doing that. And I think that that's always going to be something that you can hack on, not necessarily with the rights to the content. Yeah,
sure. And there's a company called Musichackday that had a presence, a big presence, of course, at the Hack Day. They've been very active they're probably the most active company in the lyrics community in terms of opening up their API to third-party developers for hacks, and they've been very active at the Hack Days. And so that's one part of trying to make the indexing of the lyrics and the data side of music that a lot of people don't have available to people to integrate, and it's time matched, and there's a lot of features in there that developers can use, but that's not true of speech radio. So that's a whole other it's a whole other kettle of fish that nobody's really addressed yet, and there's no real way of indexing properly the speech on radios yet.
Well, no, not yet, but hang tight.
Yeah. Hopefully, I've been speaking to companies about transcribing podcasts, but it's still like an incredibly expensive enterprise. So it's not something that I can do quite yet. It's still like $1 per minute, or you can get it down to 70 cents per minute if you're really lucky. But
yeah, I mean, on a kind of personal basis, or on a smaller company basis, it's not something that's going to happen just yet. But your sort of big commercial content providers, they're on top of this, and particularly companies like the BBC, they've no doubt been going back through the archive of everything that's ever been said on Radio 4 and now have an index of that. And I'm sure it'll be available for everyone to use quite soon. I'm just guessing. I don't know anything. I know I used to work there, but no one's told me anything. Oh man!
You can just imagine.
I haven't signed any NDAs recently.
You can just imagine like somebody that said something really stupid on Radio 4 like 10 years ago, going, "Oh my God, why is this happening?"
Yeah, I'm thinking about that perspective. Like the hacks that you build are just like really stupid shit that people said that they now regret. Like there's so much of it there. The potential for libel and defamation cases is amazing. Yeah.
And Sid, let's talk about your project that was also very popular and kind of crazy with the hospital label. So how does that come about?
So how did it come about? So I've been saying for a while, I kind of early before Sounddrop was around. I really wanted to make a turntable FM for Spotify.
Yeah.
And then Sounddrop came out, and then I was like, I should try. I can't really be bothered anymore. Sounddrop does what I wanted it to do, but then still kind of had that feeling of wanting to make something similar to that. And I was chatting to Matt from Hospital Records the other day, and he was saying that he would love it if there was like a virtual hospitality club type place to go online. And me and Paul were sat there chatting, and we thought it was a great idea, and that we could do it, and that we would want to do it, and it would be a lot of fun to make it.
Yeah.
So the concept behind it is that it's it's a curated turntable FM. So it is a YouTube playlist that plays in loop and in sync. So whenever you visit the page, you're there, the same place that everybody else is.
Yeah.
But then we gave it various effects for once there are a certain amount of people in the room.
Yeah.
Because like you're in a club, yeah, there's speakers, there's lights, you get people coming in and leaving the room literally in real time. So as people enter and leave, they come on the screen and off the screen, etc. They're all bopping up and down to the tempo of the song that's being played. Then we added various techie bits, such as smoke comes on, when there's like 6 people in the room. And then when there's 10 people, the lasers come on. And then when there's 20 people, a light show happens.
Yeah.
And then when there's 25 people, the logo goes mental.
Yeah.
And we it was kind of fun stuff to do at 5-6 o'clock in the morning. That just involved like tweaking little things and adding more pointless things in. So like, for example, when the song ends, the lights fade down and then they fade up. And the people who are dancing, there's always 1 or 2 of them who keep dancing after the song ends, but then slowly kind of slow down as they kind of start to realise that they're still dancing and there's no song playing.
Nice.
And then you get like, when they all warm up, their bouncing like warms up at the beginning of the song, and then they start to get like faster and faster and faster.
Yeah.
Kind of just dicking around with technology at stupid o'clock in the morning, and I had a lot of fun making it.
Cool.
Just because it was, lasers. Everyone loves lasers.
Of course, and I mean it may be something that you tweaked at 6 o'clock in the morning, but at the same time, there's a lot of people that are very much sort of desperate to find a way to make live streams more exciting for the fans, and they haven't found a way yet. It's literally just still the picture of a stage, and you may have multiple cameras. As much as the production values may go up, unless you find a way to figure out how to display this, the number of people that are actually watching, the stream
in a cool way, right?
In a cool way, then it's
oh, for sure. I mean, as I said, it's kind of We Make Awesome has a certain business model.
Yeah. Which is cool. Yeah.
I mean, one day hopefully someone might actually want to pay us to make this hospitality club thing.
Yeah.
Hospital Records are going to use it, and we're going to give it to them in return for some tickets, because we had fun making it, and it's quite a fun thing. We're going to tidy it up, etc.
Sure.
Because it's not quite ready for prime time. I mean, for sure it would get... there's loads of stuff that we would love to do to it, and maybe we will, maybe we won't. I mean, it kind of all depends in public interest. I mean, if people show that, like Tommy.hk, it all comes back to, like, people show me that they were interested in it, so I continue working on it.
Of course. Okay, and going away from sort of radio and your hack as well, I was thinking... can you just give me your thoughts on remixing apps? Because that's another field that has been really strong in the hack days in the past, because there's a certain way in which you can link up the APIs of different services to draw parts of the tracks, understand the tempo, the structure, change the tempo, mix things in a pretty cool way. At the same, and there's always remixing hacks happening at the hack day. I mean, I can't remember one where there wasn't one. At at the same time, there's also always the debate, how much do we want to take that technology further to create automatic mixing, and how much value is there in that other than just being fun or interesting for a certain particular tangent. Like, for example, there was a cool hack about hits, so that they mixed snippets of hits from was it a decade or 20 years of number ones, and that's really cool. That's something that is a cool hack. But in terms of how do you develop from there? Is there a life for automatic remixing beyond just a hack? Martin?
I think as long as there's a context behind it, yeah, absolutely. I mean, the one you were just talking about was called Remix of the Century, which basically takes everything that's been a particular hit over a period of time and tries to blend its way through it. And there's a lot of applications that have done that over particular hack days. It's like going from one place to another place via all of the different stops, and there's at least 4 or 5 of those. I mean, a lot of this is all coming off of the Echo Nest technology and their remix API and remix libraries, particularly. Most recently in Boston, Paul Lemire won the internet for about a whole week and is possibly still winning the internet with Infinite Jukebox, which is just continuously play any bit of your favorite song until you get bored.
Yeah,
forever.
It's amazing.
It is amazing.
It is fantastic.
Yes, absolutely.
And I think those kind of things will always do well because there's infinite levels of creativity, right? Because you are only providing the medium for people in which to create something.
Yeah.
And they go in and they decide what it is that they actually want to hear. So they're going to engage with it until they get bored or until they're sick of it. But if you throw someone's entire music collection at that, they could be doing it for months. Sure. And, I imagine some people probably will. We've had sequencer applications that have been built at Musichackday before, ways of traversing playlists in new ways, and also just straight up instrumentation, different ways of, being able to bounce samples around, based on graphical movements, based on, what's being seen by the camera. I mean, what Sigma guys were building was a sequencer basically based off, holding up a phone, and wherever the phone is wherever the note will be. Yeah. There's an infinite number of ways.
Of course,
you could apply that to either creating a remix or a relooping engine or whatever it is. And it's a lot of these hacks are the ones that come out as being the most fun and the most popular afterwards.
And we're not at the end of the road, of course. There's always new sets of data that get added to the APIs of specific companies. So like the Echo Nest keeps adding new points for developers to work with, and lots of other companies keep adding new things that developers can latch onto to make their remixes more accurate. So I'm sure like actually from what I've seen, the level of accuracy and polish of the automatic remixes has improved so much over the last 4 years, considering where it started from 2009 at the London Hack Day, and there was already like a remix tab back then, but it was pretty crude, and now it's the data has improved so much that it allows developers to do much more exciting things.
Yeah, absolutely. And you got to hope that maybe certain artists see this stuff out there on the web. I mean, particularly stuff like Infinite Jukebox. I've seen that pop up in feeds on Twitter that being talked about by people who've got absolutely no connection to technology or any connection to the music industry.
Yeah.
So, it's going to get seen by people, and that's going to definitely give, both artists and people, in the music industry that may not be looking at what's coming out of events like Musichackday, something to latch onto and go, actually, that's really cool. We'd quite like to do that too.
Yeah.
And if that happens, awesome. Because really, giving the music industry a sort of a new way of looking at this stuff and a new way of engaging with technology and also the developers behind it was one of the key reasons that Musichackday got started. Because
Sure.
it was there, but the industry weren't engaging with it. They are now, but there's always more that can be done.
Yeah. And let's talk about Spotify for a second, just because I know that last year at the London Hack Day, the Spotify API had just been announced. So, of course, there was a huge rush to create all sorts of applications based on that. But then again, Spotify has really been trickling the applications down to because they haven't really figured out a way for people to create a discovery environment within that. So they're trying not to flood the the App Store with apps, which is creating problems because, of course, people are creating awesome stuff that is not getting published because of obvious reasons. So what's the word on the street in the last sort of 12 months, ever since the IPI was announced to today, as to how much time people are willing to devote to these kind of apps without knowing whether there's any chance of those being published on the Spotify main core application? I know it's a hard question to answer, but... Sid,
do you want to answer?
So Musichackday last year,
yeah,
it was on the Saturday. The Spotify app platform was launched on the Tuesday, or was announced, something along those lines.
Yeah, the Wednesday before.
Was it the Wednesday? Okay.
Yeah.
By the Thursday night, I had 2 apps that could have been distributed on the Spotify platform, that were basically ready to go. But I still believe there is a space on Spotify for them right now.
Yeah.
I haven't touched them since about February, and I haven't touched Spotify apps since about February. We, as a company, have. There's one we're making at the moment for somebody.
Yeah.
But I haven't touched them since for various reasons.
Yeah.
Interestingly, Deezer are launching their platform. I know they're up to developers at the weekend. I don't know when their official launch is. We have actually, as a company, have been making an app for that platform for a client.
Yeah. But yeah, it's tough because they haven't really figured out a way to approve the apps like Apple in a way that sort of democratizes the playing field.
They're going to. I mean, they're not going to.
Yeah.
They're well, at least it doesn't come across that way to developers that they're ever going to open it in that kind of way.
Yeah, sure.
Which isn't necessarily a bad thing. It depends what they want from their platform. But personally, I think the funny thing. So as a developer, Android apps. I hate making Android apps because of Android and the devices. I quite like making Android apps because of the App Store.
Yeah.
Google Play, you submit an app and it's there, it's live. The Apple App Store. I quite like making iPhone apps because of the devices. I quite like making iPhone apps because of when you're on the App Store and it's the launch, because you don't really have a launch with web apps or even with Android apps in the same way.
Yeah.
You haven't got that weight. But then I don't like App Store apps because of Apple's approval process.
Sure.
Spotify has a stricter approval process than Apple. So, yeah, it depends what type of person you are.
Yeah, of course. And it's tough because already now on the Spotify platform, there's already too many apps for them not to be properly categorized, but there's not enough apps to create an ecosystem. So they're kind of in this, up until there were like maybe 6 or 10 apps, maybe it made sense for them just to have the one page, and it was still fairly navigable. But now it's just become a cacophony of lots of different apps, and it's hard to navigate. So I'm sure they'll be thinking about how to figure it out soon because they need to.
Oh, I'm sure they will.
Yeah. Absolutely. And finally, I just want to finish by talking about sort of utilitarian apps, because those are also useful. They're not quite as fun, but I guess they're still part of the hack days. So, for example, there was the Dropbox hack that was quite cool, which allows you to I forgot the name of it. I'm just so bad with names.
Tracks in a box.
Tracks in a box, perfect. Yeah, so that basically allowed you to sync up your SoundCloud inbox with the Dropbox, so that any tracks that are dropped into it that then get dropped automatically in your Dropbox. And that's something that I'm sure, I'm just amazed that it didn't exist already. It's kind of like it's such a simple thing. Did it? Maybe I don't know.
There was one at Boston.
Oh, was there? Okay.
So
right.
well, literally like 2 weeks a week apart, which was quite entertaining.
Yeah.
I don't think there was before then though. Well, not.
But that's pretty cool, and you know, it's just like I just wanted to use that as a sort of a wedge to talk about apps that actually perform a function, because of course, you know, we talked a lot about fun apps and things that are funny and they can be productized perhaps along the lines, but there's also a lot of stuff that the industry actually needs. And do you think is it a bit maybe too ambitious to think that something like that can come out of a hack day, or do you think there might be you know, what's your take on sort of utility versus fun factor?
I don't think it's too ambitious to say that something like that wouldn't come out of a hack day, because, you know, chances are someday one thing will. You know, it could well be tracks in a box. I mean, you know, that's I would totally use it. As soon as Dropbox approve it, I'm going to start using it. So, you know, job done.
Absolutely. Easy.
And you know, and I get the feeling as well that Johan is going to go ahead and actually do more work on that. So, you know, that could end up being the one.
Yeah, that's great.
But yeah, I mean, you know, you can come to an event like this and you can work on something utilitarian and not necessarily, you know, just for the lols. But, you know, combining the two is always good. But at the end of the day, people are always going to approach it either from building something that they would like to see, something they'd want to play with, or something that they'd want to use.
Yeah.
Because, you know, the first ideas are going to come from, well, you know, what could I do? I have this problem. How am I going to solve it?
Yeah.
You know? And that's really as simplistic as it needs to be. You know, if other people think that that's cool and other people think that's useful, well, there you go. There's hundreds and hundreds of companies that have gone on to be massive that came out of exactly that same way of thinking.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And I want to finish with a hard question, which is, but it's something that people are starting to think about just as, you know, data becomes more valuable. People are starting to realize how valuable the data they have is. And it's a question that involves really everyone that is offering an API out to developers, and how much value they put on the API once the product is commercialized, and what happens on that front. So do you think that there's, as people realize more and more the value of their data, there's going to be a bit more restrictions placed on how those APIs are able to be used, even just in a hack day context? Or do most companies realize nowadays that it's to their benefit to give this away? You know, it's a weird tension between, you know, how much value you place on your data and how much of your data you want to give away in order for people to use your data in the first place. So, how do you see that evolving in the next year?
Well, I mean, there's already an aspect of that, right? So people come down to hack days because it's a great opportunity to get people working with the technology and show people what can be done. It's a great way of spreading the word about what it is that your service does. But there's a whole bunch of companies that if you want to take whatever it is that you're doing and move it beyond a hack, then you're going to have to get into, you know, commercial talks with them. So, you know, that already exists. Sure. It's not something that, you know, there's not really any restrictions placed on it in that sense. But, you know, if you're going to start commercializing it, i.e. making money or taking on capital, then of course, you know, you need to, and because of that, the users are probably going to grow as well. So the amount of like actual infrastructure you're using, the amount of server time you're using is going to get bigger. Then that's got to go up, you know, and money needs to change hands. Some sort of deal needs to be worked out, and I think that's fair enough.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I think that model works well. It works well in terms of hack days. I don't think it's something that's going to change massively over the next couple of years. Yeah, Sid, what do you reckon?
Well, totally that. I mean, it's the non-commercial use only.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what all of these APIs and platforms are. I mean, I haven't read all of their terms and conditions, but most of them is free for non-commercial use. And it's only when you start to make more money from it that it starts to get complex.
Yeah.
I mean, and that works well. They must be making some money.
Yeah.
There must be commercial uses of them. I know if we were to make money off any of the APIs, then we'd be more than happy to contribute back, because I mean, like, what I find funny with Last.fm is that Last.fm has always been free, and that's not even non-commercial use. Most of it, like some of it, you can use commercially, but still not have to pay.
Yeah,
and I would be more than happy. Like, they had a downtime a few months back for about a week.
Yeah,
and some of our apps had stopped working. And I would be more than happy to give them some cash if it meant that made sure that they all survived.
Yeah.
I mean, when you're piggybacking off a service, if you're making money from it, then you deserve to contribute some cash.
Absolutely.
Making money from it, then it's a totally different story. As long as you're somehow promoting the other service, you're not claiming it's your own. If you're not making money from it,
yeah, sure.
You're not contributing any money to them. You can't claim it's your own, and you should credit them.
Yeah.
I think that's all it really, and most people do.
Yeah, and there's a lot of services out there as well that are starting to use Econest and stuff, and the logo is getting smaller and smaller of the Econest. So sometimes you kind of wonder, what the credit is given or what it's due. But it's good to hear that on a non-commercial use you don't foresee any changes to the way that the APIs are distributed. I mean, that was my main question, basically.
I mean, the aim for everyone with an API is to get people using it for paid projects.
Sure. Absolutely.
I mean, it's the same with Twilio, it's the same with SendGrid, I'm sure, and the same with all of the music APIs. Like, our aim as API owners is to get people who are making money from our API. If they're making money from it, then ace.
Yeah, great.
Because then we'll be making more money, because they're paying something.
Sure, absolutely. Well, and so the next appointment that we are absolutely sure about of the Hack Day is Medium, and the others are probably under wraps still. So that's going to be quite cool. It's a slightly more limited amount of developers. Medium usually it's about 30, right?
Yeah, it's 30 people, but there will be some other ones at the start of the year as well. So keep an eye on the Musichackday Twitter account for that, which is @Musichackday. And also the Musichackday website, musichackday.org. And I should also say that if you wanted to check out any of the hacks that came out last weekend, if you go to bit.ly/London hacks, then you'll be able to see the list of everything that was built over the weekend. And at that point, the videos of the demos and the individual demos of videos of each individual demo will be there as well.
Cool. And any plug for SendGrid that you wanted to shout out?
Yeah, man, if you need to do anything with email, then give me a shout at Martin R. Davis.
Perfect. And Sid, any plugs at your end on projects you're working on?
Always, everyone and everywhere. I've got too many hats on. I'm Sid Lawrence on Twitter, at Sid Lawrence.
Cool. Nothing on Twilio in specific?
Twilio, Tomahawk, We Make Awesome, all of them.
Yeah.
So Twilio's voice. Well, so I did I told you about the SoundCloud one already, so you already know what it is.
Great, awesome. Well, I'll post some links to the hacks and to the SoundCloud voice thing as well in the show notes, so that people can go and play with that. And hopefully all of the hacks will be still live for the next few weeks, so that people can enjoy them whilst the show is live.
For sure.
Well, that's great. Thanks so much for coming on the show, and I'm sure I'll talk to you guys soon.
All right, thanks, man.
Thanks for having us.